Good morning, everyone. Today I'll present a study that examines the consistency and reliability of essay scoring between human raters and artificial intelligence. The study was conducted at Ashakia University in Oman and focuses on essays written by foundation level English language learners. The purpose of this research is to understand whether AI tools can provide scoring comparable to experienced human instructors and whether these tools can realistically support writing assessment in language programs. The evaluation of student writing remains a crucial part of language teaching as it directly influences both academic progression and learners' writing competence. Writing assessment not only measures students' language proficiency, but also shapes instructional practices and feedback mechanisms that support development. Traditionally, evaluating students' essays has relied on human raters whose scores and qualitative feedback guide students' improvement. However, concerns regarding objectivity, reliability, and fairness persist as human judgment may be influenced by fatigue, bias, and subjective interpretation of assessment criteria. In response to these challenges, the increasing integration of artificial intelligence, or AI, into educational contexts has introduced automated essay scoring systems. The systems promise greater efficiency and scoring consistency. Early developments in AAS, such as Project Essay Grade, developed in 1960s by Dr. Ellis Page. Also, more recent systems, including E-Rater, have applied natural language processing and machine learning techniques to evaluate writing features with high levels of agreement compared to human raters, as shown in the study of Jill Burstyn, 2003. These systems are designed to reduce variability and streamline assessment processes, positioning themselves as potential complements or, in some cases, alternatives to human scoring. Human raters continue to play a fundamental role in writing assessments due to their professional expertise and their ability to interpret meaning within linguistic and cultural contexts. Their evaluative judgment allows for nuanced feedback that considers rhetorical intent, audience awareness, and contextual appropriateness, elements that are often difficult to quantify through automated processes. However, human essay scoring is often susceptible to variability because raters may rely on their own evaluative frameworks, experiences, and expectations when assessing writing. Even with standardized rubrics are used, raters can interpret criteria such as organization or coherence differently, which may lead to differences in scoring. Additional factors, including rater fatigue and implicit bias, can also influence judgments during the evaluation process. Furthermore, raters may prioritize different aspects of writing quality, such as grammar, content development, or organization. These factors highlight the subjective and interpretative nature of human essay assessment, making complete consistency difficult to achieve even with training and rubric guidelines. Advancements in natural language processing and machine learning have led to the development of automated essay scoring system, marking a significant evolution in writing assessment. These tools offer enhanced efficiency, scalability, and consistency by applying algorithmic models trained on large datasets to generate scores aligned with human benchmarks. Early AES systems focus on surface-level linguistic features such as lexical diversity and syntactic complexity, while more recent systems incorporate deeper semantic analysis and evaluate writing using criteria comparable to human scoring rubrics. Despite growing interest in AI-assisted assessment, there remains a need for empirical research that directly compares human and AI evaluations within specific institutional contexts using standardized criteria. Although Studies show moderate to strong correlations between AES systems and human raters, as shown in Shermis and Hammer's study in 2012. Questions remain about the construct validity and the pedagogical implications of delegating evaluative authority to algorithms. Limited evidence exists regarding the extent to which AI-generated scores align with experienced teachers' judgment in foundation level, especially in the English language program. Investigating this alignment is essential to determine whether AI tools can function as reliable partners in writing assessment while maintaining pedagogical integrity and supporting meaningful feedback practices. Now let's take a look at the methodology of this study. The participants in the study consisted of three experienced language teachers from the Center for Language and Foundation Studies at Ashakia University. Each instructor had between 4 and 5 years of teaching experience in English as a foreign language. For the data source and sampling, the data consisted of 15 student essays written by Level 3 Foundation Program students. The essays were selected using purposive sampling to ensure that they represented a similar level of proficiency. Specifically, the essays were drawn from students who had achieved scores between 75 and 80% in their previous level writing courses. For the scoring instrument, a standard analytic rubric was used to evaluate the essays. The rubric included the following criteria: task achievement, organization, grammar, vocabulary, and mechanics. Each criterion was scored independently, and the total score was calculated as the sum of individual criterion scores. The rubric was selected because analytic scoring provides detailed insights into specific writing components and allow for more precise comparison between raters. In addition to human scoring, the essays were evaluated using CoGrader, an automated essay scoring tool that uses artificial intelligence and natural language processing to generate scores based on linguistic and structural features of writing. CoGrader evaluated the essays using the criteria aligned with the analytic rubric to allow them for meaningful comparison with human raters. For the data collection procedure, each of the three human raters independently evaluated the 15 essays using the standardized rubric. Then the raters were instructed to score the essays individually without consulting to one another to ensure independent judgment. The same essays were then submitted to the co-grader system, which generated scores for each essay based on its algorithm. All scores were recorded and organized according to essay number, scoring criterion, and rater type. For the data analysis, the data were analyzed using descriptive and comparative statistical methods. Descriptive statistics, including mean scores, score ranges, and discrepancies, were calculated to examine the scoring patterns. Inter-rater reliability among human raters were evaluated by examining the degree of agreement and score variation across raters. Comparisons between human raters and AI-generated scores were conducted to assess alignment and identify systematic differences. Score differences were analyzed to determine the extent of consistency within human raters and between human and AI scoring systems. Particular attention was given to the differences in total scores and individual rubric criteria. The analysis aimed to determine whether the automated scoring system produced scores comparable to human raters and to evaluate the reliability and objectivity of AI-assisted assessment. For the ethical considerations, um, the students' essay were anonymized to protect student identity and confidentiality. The evaluation process focused solely on assessment consistency and did not affect the students' academic grades. The participating raters provided informed consent and the data were used exclusively for the research purposes. Now let's take a look at the findings. Human raters demonstrated a moderate level of consistency in their scoring, particularly for individual criteria. For task achievement, human raters frequently provided identical scores. For example, essays 1, 4, 12, 13, and 14, or very close scores with a range of only zero point 0.5 or 1 point. This indicates a high level of agreement on whether the essay effectively addressed the task. As shown in the table, raters generally showed good consistency in scoring the organization, criterion with many instances of identical scores or small differences, typically within a 1 point range. While some variations exist in other criteria, these are typically minor, 0 to 1.5 points, suggesting a shared understanding of the rubric's specific components. This contrasts with the more pronounced inconsistencies in their total scores, which can accumulate these smaller differences into larger discrepancies. While human raters often show agreement on individual criteria, the total scores they assign to the same essay exhibit noticeable inconsistencies, as shown in the table. This variability can be observed across different essays, indicating that even with a common rubric, individual raters may weigh criteria differently or have slightly varied interpretations of the overall quality. These inconsistencies highlight the challenge of achieving a perfect inter-rater reliability in essay assessment, even among trained human evaluators using the same rubric. The variation suggests that factors beyond explicit rubric criteria, such as subtle interpretations of quality, writing style, or even fatigue, might influence the final score. The most significant finding of the study was the large discrepancy between human raters and AI system, specifically the co-grader. Co-grader consistently awarded significantly lower marks across all evaluated criteria and total scores when compared to human raters. Typically, co-grader scores for individual criteria were 1.5 or 1 out of 4, whereas human raters generally scored within the range of 2 to 3.5 out of 4 for the same criteria. This trend is also evident in the total scores. For example, Essay 1, Essay 8, Essay 10, Essay 12, and Essay 13. In Essay 1, human raters scored 11.5, 14, and 12, while co-graders scored 9.5 as a total score for this essay. And also, as you can see in Essay 8, human raters scored 11.5, 14.5, and 10, whereas the co-grader assigned 7.5. This consistent pattern indicates a notable difference in scoring between automated system essay scoring and human raters. The findings suggest that while human raters demonstrate a reasonable level of agreement on specific grading criteria, their overall assessment, especially in total scores, can still vary. This inherent variability among human raters is considered as a challenge in assessing students' essay, often attributed to subjective interpretations of rubrics and individual grading philosophies. However, the differences observed are typically within a certain range, suggesting a shared understanding of what constitutes quality writing within the given rubric. In contrast, the substantial and consistent underscoring by co-grader across all criteria and total scores present a more fundamental difference. This disparity suggests that co-grader either operates on a significantly stricter grading scale, interprets the rubric differently, or lacks the ability to recognize certain qualities in student writing that human raters value. The human rater scores, while not perfectly aligned, generally fall within a similar performance band, implying a consensus that co-grader does not share. This could be due to the limitations of automated systems in evaluating nuances like contextual understanding, creative expression, or subtle linguistic complexities that human evaluators can discern. Now let's quickly look at the diagnostic assessment matrix here, comparing human raters and AES, looking at the core strengths for both and the limitations that the AES has when it comes to assessing students' writing. The observed discrepancies have significant implications for both the teaching and learning of English language and for the assessment of students' essay. For curriculum alignment, if automated grading systems are employed, there is a risk that teaching methodologies and curriculum design might inadvertently shift to focus on quantifiable aspects that these tools can reliably detect, potentially at the expense of fostering more nuanced writing skills. For student perception and motivation, the consistent underscoring by an automated system could lead to student demotivation, especially if they perceive the feedback as misaligned with their efforts or with feedback received from human instructors. This might hinder their intrinsic motivation to improve their writing. Implications for assessing students' essays. The significant difference in scores between co-grader and human raters raises serious concerns about the validity and fairness of using such an automated system for high-stakes assessments. If co-grader consistently undervalues student work, its use could lead to inaccurate and equitable evaluations of student proficiency. There is a critical need for rigorous calibration and validation of automated essay scoring tools like CoGrader against human expert judgments. This is essential to ensure that automated assessments align with the established pedagogical standards and reflect the quality valued in academic writing. The findings underscore the central role of human judgment in essay assessment and indicate that although automated systems enhance efficiency, they require rigorous calibration and thoughtful integration to ensure fairness and pedagogical validity. Although AES platforms are efficient, fast, and objective, they have limitations in identifying cultural nuances, which can result in undervaluing students' written work, particularly in interpreting context-specific expressions, culturally embedded references, rhetorical styles, and creative language use that fall outside standardized linguistic patterns. Thus, reliance on AES may result in unfair and biased evaluation of learners' writing skills or competence. Therefore, a balanced approach that combines the efficiency of automated essay scoring with the interpretative insight and contextual sensitivity of human raters is essential to promote equitable, consistent, fair, objective, and meaningful writing evaluation practices. To address the limitations and rigidity of automated essay scoring platforms, as well as concerns regarding subjectivity and inconsistency among human raters, a hybrid evaluation model is recommended. This approach can mitigate the weaknesses inherent in both systems. Human raters are uniquely positioned to provide feedback that accounts for contextual and cultural nuances reflected in students' writing, while AES systems contribute consistency and speed. Integrating scores from both sources would enable more comprehensive and balanced feedback. For instance, final grades could be determined through an equal weighting scheme, allocating 50% to human raters and 50% to AES. Overall, the findings reaffirm the indispensable role of human evaluators in delivering nuanced and contextually informed assessments. AES tools should therefore be employed as complementary instruments that enhance efficiency rather than as replacements for the qualitative insight and interpretative expertise of human raters. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you, Dr. Francis. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to present and share this study to you. This research contributes to the ongoing discussion about the role of artificial intelligence in educational assessment and highlights the importance of maintaining human expertise in evaluating student writing. Thank you so much.